Hello everybody. This competition was a real success. I've been delighted by the range of interpretations and by the remarkable writing and characterization in so many entries. In the end, with 46 stories to choose from, I've decided to award 5 prizes instead of 3. Each winner will receive copies of RSL Creative Writing Books 1 and 2. If you aren't one of the winners, but would like to get hold of the books, you can find them on Amazon. There are links in this video's description. If you own the books and like them, please write reviews on the Amazon site. Reviews make a really enormous difference. At the end of this video, I'll announce the winners, counting backwards from 5th to 1st place. But please don't skip to the end. First of all, I'd like to very quickly comment on something that I liked in each of the entries, so that the children who took time to participate have some positive feedback and an idea of what to build on in their future writing. I'm afraid that with so many to get through, my comments will be very brief. If you'd like to read the stories for yourself, they're in the comments underneath the video where I announce this competition. Okay, let's get started. Because of the way Facebook comments work, I'm going to give the parent's name in each case, then their child's name if they provided it. These comments are in a random order, so don't read anything into your place in the queue. If you don't hear your name in this first part of the video, it might be that you're one of the winners. Okay, so from Geeta Prasad Ganabathula, her child is Venkat. I really like the effective use of short and long sentences in this piece. An example of a beautiful image: there is a searing oven in the dull and murky sky. I thought that was a fascinating way to describe the sun. Alicia A.B.L., the daughter is Ariadna. Ariadna thinks really carefully about the camel's experience. The sand is whipping and whirling around its delicate hooves like little tornadoes. That's wonderful. From Divya Ram, her child is Darshan. There was a really interesting and imaginative use of textures in this piece. The one comforting thing is that my camel's fur is soft to touch, even though we have been out for ages. In comparison, my skin is covered in a thin layer of sand. I thought that was really interesting. From Saida Ishtiaq, and the child is Sherry. There was a really effective beginning here that paints the character very clearly. Here I am, riding on the same old camel, in the same old clothes, drinking the same old water that's running out. Nothing seems to change in this merciless wasteland. From Nidazad Jaffrey. This was very dramatic, with close attention to the character's thoughts. The beginning was great. I could see the hands of hell trying to grab me. Fantastically melodramatic there. From Jennifer Baraccio. This was another very powerful opening. I hear the wind howl in agony, as if echoing the angry, bruised sky. From Pradeep Nalla. This story fills the desert with life and movement, which was quite an unusual choice, but really effective. And I like this: the sun's colour mingles with the sky, like juice mix dissolving in a glass of water. I'm always struck when I find similes that are as original and thought-provoking as that, and I thought that was terrific. From Daniel, the son of Nushat Latif. There were lots of original ideas here. Like an insatiable stomach, the sand dunes heaved to and fro. Terrific stuff. From Lumi Nikolai, her daughter Emma. This story traces the changing moods of the storm beautifully. The wind is getting calmer now. What was previously a loud whistling noise is now a soft whisper, and the sand is retreating. Rajitha Shyam Yalambatala and her child Shri imagines the terror of the experience and the feeling of being completely overwhelmed by nature's power. Huge mountains of sand dwarfed me. I could really imagine the sense of being utterly overwhelmed by the vastness of the desert there. From Aran, the child of Darshan Shah. The movement of the sand is wonderfully well described here. Sand whirls, twirls, and sways with the wind. What a fantastic set of verbs. from Srividya Mulgun's child Samarth. Lots of people compared the sand to water, but Samarth did it more subtly, just through the choice of vocabulary, when he refers to the air filling up with flying spume, so making the sand seem like foam on top of waves. I also love it when the desert is described as a mournful pan of emptiness. What a good phrase that is. From Hina Khan, there was a wonderfully wide range of thoughts and emotions in this story, and some great vocabulary. I really like the verb choice in "my camel is shuffling across the burning desert." I thought shuffling was a great word to describe a camel's movement, and quite unexpected. From Meghalika and her daughter Arya, who was always looking for original imagery. Thoughts raced through my head like a toy train. That really made me smile, and I can imagine the feeling. From Olga Tichenkova, her son Anthony, there were beautiful images of the sand's movement in this. An accumulation of dust enveloped me like a snake around its prey. From Karuna Rajora and from Eshan, some really good descriptions here. Sharp knives of wind prick my face, and I realize I'm enveloped in a fog of sand. I like the idea of a fog of sand. From Abu Elias and his daughter Nabiza, she creates a really vivid and imaginative setting. I can't see any further than a few feet in front of me. Anything beyond looms around like mere spectres. Really mysterious there and ethereal. From Tara Lee Gorton's son William, I like how the narrator is shown becoming aware of the sand coming to life. As I take a swig of water from my canteen, I feel the grit between my teeth, and that's the moment when the narrator starts to realize that something strange is happening because the sand is arriving at a level where it shouldn't be. From Shilpi Agrawal and her child Ishani, I really like how the camel is characterized in this story. I urged Destiny to increase her speed. She continued to slouch on languidly. So that's a wonderfully uncooperative camel, quite amusingly presented. From Shabana Syed, this story creates a really powerful feeling of gloom and of doom. The clouds were swollen and growing into an ominous black. From Sabina Subhan Chowdhury and her child Maveen, this story conveyed a real sense of longing. And here's a great sentence from that story. I feel the stars that are sparkling are my family, and the one isolated is me. From Deepali Joshi Shivshankar and her child Aum, this was very dramatic. In the distance, I saw a storm violently spiraling its way towards me, and the story was full of things like that. This is another one from a child of Sabina Subhan Chowdhury. This is from Zara. There were beautiful, interesting descriptions of the setting here. The sky was the colour of deep fire. It was a sky with no life. And I think almost the apparent contradiction between it being the colour of fire but having no life is really interesting. And when you think about it, you can imagine exactly what that might be like. From Kinjal Shah's child, Jill, there was a really original and imaginative view of the setting. Original and imaginative view of the setting. I particularly liked I can see sand bouncing. From Lan Leader's daughter Emily, she describes thirst very vividly. I can hear him panting with every step. Saliva drips from my mouth as I gasp for water. Abu Elias's child Nabila really engages with the character's psychology. My eyes are stinging, not from no sleep, but from tears. But there is no time to cry, I think, as a great mass of sand whips me all over. In the entry sent by Ritu Malhotra, this vividly conveys a sense of fear. I like this unusual simile. The sound of the raging wind is like a flaming bull bolting towards me. From Ravi Sanidi's child Sujan, this story closely follows the psychology of the narrator, including when they're distracted and when they're drawn back to the reality of events afterwards. I also liked when the sand is described as like a blanket of golden dust, obliterating all the earth. Maia Westphely's daughter Annika, is really good on physical experiences. The howling and walloping of the sandstorm threatens to burst my eardrums. That was really good. And from Lumi Nikolai's daughter Anya, there's a really persistent focus on the character's changing thoughts. I like moments such as tears welled in my eyes. I swept them away, for crying never did a man any good. Chandresh Deer's daughter Angelina. A wonderful opening to this. I spotted a dust devil swirl around the canyon like a rattlesnake on the hunt. Terrific, that. And from Venuha Kamalraj's child Yosvin. There are really powerful phrases here with interesting creative images. A terrifying gust of whizzing sound. And the desert is a wild, unusual place. From Mira M. Shah and her son Dash. Again, lovely details in this. My camel munched idly upon the hay that we had taken with us, its slender eyelashes covered with sand. From Alex Kamala's Patricia. There was a really atmospheric opening here. As I bend down to get my flask of water, I feel a distant breeze of a sandstorm. From Vanshika Popat. This is a very vivid sentence. The sky overhead was teeming with folds and folds of thick grey clouds hanging heavily over the already dark and dry desert. I think that's splendid. From Rashta Zishan and Munin. This story makes the storm an almost supernatural experience. The swirling sand, like an eyeless being, was somehow staring at me. That's a wonderful bit of imagination there. Really beautiful. From Ola Ofirenko and Vlad. There were interesting, thought-provoking images here. Clouds are like thrashing waves in the sea, claiming the sandy beaches. From Vakta Buyen and her child Pratyusa. This begins very creatively. As I picked up my fallen hat, the sand began to rise. The wind whispered in my ears. And I think from that moment you really want to know who this person is and what's happening to them. From Vallabhi Ramesh and Yashwina. This captures the feeling of fear very effectively. For example, my skin is crawling with the fear that I am going to die. From Fatima Alam and Sarah. There was a really impressive range of moods in here, from intense to quietly contemplative. With my newfound hope, I stare at the hazy sun setting in the west, and for the first time appreciate the golden sandy landscape stretching out for miles around me. Sampriti Roy's Yuvan has thought very carefully about the realities of life in the desert. Every time we see water, we fill up the 7-litre bucket we carry, drink some, and trek on. And I read this imagining a traveller doing exactly the things that are described here. Right, and now for the 5 winners. Each of these people will get copies of RSL Creative Writing Books 1 and 2 posted to them. I'm going to display each winning entry on the screen. If you'd like to read the stories for yourself, and I really recommend that you do, just pause the video to read before you carry on. 5th place goes to Steve Susairaj. Steve's story was simpler and shorter than many others. His work demonstrates how these can be good things. The camel is beautifully characterized when she blinks furiously, trying to get the sand out of her sore eyes. The storm itself has personality. As whirlpools of sand rise, I feel like it is raging with fury at us for entering its territory. The most beautiful description, in my opinion, is of the moon. It yawns over the desert. 4th place goes to Daniel Wright. Daniel didn't exactly follow the instructions insofar as he wrote in the past rather than the present tense. However, his story was so good that I decided not to be picky about this. He focuses on describing the storm as it surges towards the narrator and surrounds them. For example, It crashed in slow motion, like a tidal wave engulfing the shore. He describes its sound, the sensation of the sand striking skin, and the responses that it forces on his terrified character and their camel. Third place goes to Maia Westphely. I love the interplay between the narrator's thoughts and the camel's behaviour developed throughout this story. Maia demonstrates the power of the storm wonderfully. For example, desert shrubs are uprooted from the ground, their spindly fingers lifeless. I also love her second sentence. Far away, a yellowish haze hangs like lanterns in the sky. Showing that talent sometimes runs in the family, second place goes to Maia's sister, Ria. Ria's story shares some loose similarities with Maia's. For example, they end similarly. However, she's interpreted the task in a very different way. The thing that strikes me most about Ria's story is the fabulous use of vocabulary. Lots of people use clever language in their writing. Few people have Ria's ability to find the ideal word for each task, creating striking, sometimes surprising impressions. How many people would think to describe sand glowing with a ruthless, sinister sheen? The overall winner of this competition is Kerensa Love. I was hugely impressed by Kerensa's entry. It is a stupendous piece of writing, and for me, the clear winner. Nobody else managed to fit such a range of thoughts and experiences into their piece, while holding it all together in a satisfying whole. Kerensa shows her character being almost hypnotized by the sandstorm, falling in love with it, before crashing back into reality. To do this and make it work took remarkable psychological insight. Please do pause the video and take a couple of minutes to read her story for yourself. Thank you to everybody, and special congratulations to Kerensa, Ria, Maia, Daniel, and Steve. Send me a message with your address so that I can post your prizes to you. Finally, to ask a favour, and to repeat myself, if you've tried my books and you like them, please review them on Amazon. I would really appreciate it. There's a link in the description. Right, that's enough of my voice. I hope you've enjoyed this competition, and I hope when I do another one, you'll want to enter it again. Have a lovely evening.